Hello, hello. A small glitch, and I'm just gonna laugh it out because we thought we were
It
live.
happens to all of us.
We have
We are
done
here now and we're live now.
and I'm glad it's Monday. It's November 13th, and I'm here holding the space with Lori. And after I had been speaking for like I think 5 minutes, yes, we realized that we were not live, which is perfectly fine because we have the angels behind us that basically just said, you know what, Brenda, your room is not live. So I guess that happens, right?
Yep, it
So
does. No worries.
for those of you joining us, I just want you to write a comment of where you're posting from. In the meantime, if you're new to this event or you've been to this event before, this is Her Journey, Her Way from Corporate to Founder. And the objective of this event is to basically highlight the amazing stories of these women who have done the transition from corporate to founder. I think when I began my career in entrepreneurship, it was mind blowing to see how some of these women, including Lori, had come through so many hurdles and still be able to have a successful business. And that's what I want to share with you today. I want to share with you and give you hope that if you're thinking of transitioning to entrepreneurship, know that it's possible. So this event is for people who, number one, are looking to transition into entrepreneurship, two, have transitioned into entrepreneurship and are not where they want to be, but they're looking for inspiration, or anybody who wants to support these amazing women who have done the transition and are looking for that additional level of inspiration in their lives. So, with that said, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm a holistic transformational coach. My mission is to help corporate women discover their inner worth, enhance their emotional intelligence, and embrace entrepreneurship. I have a gift of being able to integrate different modalities, which I absolutely adore, and provide people with really amazing results. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brenda Lisa Costa, and I'm here today joined by the amazing Lori Potts. We should
Thanks
give
for
her
having me. I'm so
a
excited to
round
be
of applause.
here.
Yes, I'm excited. So I met Lori at the beginning of this year. We were both part of the same coaching program. And I always look forward to meeting amazing entrepreneurs who have been able to overcome multiple hurdles and basically still manage to land and develop an amazing business. And I think what Lori has been able to do is pretty amazing. And she's an amazing human being. She is very smart and she's a wealth of knowledge. And with that said, Lori is a career and coach. She also coaches people in public speaking and she also does corporate training. She works with women that are looking to build their confidence, get a great boss, a culture aligned with their values, the pay equity they deserve, and do the work they love. And she has worked with different companies like Meta and small businesses, training employees to be better communicators and public speakers. With that said, Laurie, welcome to Her Journey, Her Way from Corporate to Founder. And I want to start asking you a quick question. Tell me, who is Laurie?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, well, you talked about what I do, but um, really ultimately what I really value when it comes to working with clients and, living my life is through integrity and through vulnerability. I feel that those two aspects of um, living a life with the objective of positively impacting women's lives, those two are super important. I want people to feel like they can feel safe with me and they can be transparent with me, because ultimately when we have really good information and we have those details, then I'm better able to serve them. And I'm a firm believer that the best person of influence is a person that another feels safe with. So that's one of the highest priorities for me when I work with women, helping them to improve their communication and live in line with their values. That's super important to me as well. Growing up, I didn't always have that environment that nourished my leadership and assertive behavior, and I want people to feel that they can be 100% themselves. Um, and because I wasn't able to be that for a really long time, and I love being able to help women to own their power and feel confident and achieve the life that they really deserve and that they desire.
Hmm. So, how have you been able? Well, let me go back. You mentioned living the values, and I think this is something that it's very important in today's world, like understanding what our values are and like making sure that what we do in life is in alignment with our values. How has this shifted for you when you went from corporate to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was trying to live aligned with other people's values to meet their expectations at work. And I knew for a really long time that I wanted to do coaching before I even really knew what it was. I always knew that I was easily able to recognize the gap between the person's intent and impact. Just easily see that like this person isn't communicating in the way that they're intending, and as a result, it's achieving a completely different outcome than what they're going for. So when I decided to go full on into my business, I realized that like one of the one of the reasons why I wanted to do it was because I felt like I was trying to achieve other people's not just a business objectives, but a live in line with what it is that they believed that people should how people should act, how people should, achieve their goals. And that just, wherever I went, it just didn't feel like I could be 100% who I wanted to be. I couldn't own my power in the way that I really desired, and I could achieve so much more if I were to surround myself with different people than who I had to be surrounded with at work. And that meant like reaching out to other female entrepreneurs like you and having a business coach. So that I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does, and it reminds me a lot of when I was like my last 6 7 years in corporate. It was in my specific case, I had a life event happen to me, and I I remember that moment where it felt so deep in my gut, like, oh my God, this is no longer for me. Like I'm not in the right place. And in my case, I didn't follow that gut and I stayed there for 6 7 years after. And yeah,
Mhm.
it was tough. It was very difficult. And that leads me to the next question for you. So have you always known you wanted to do entrepreneurship, or how did you find out that that was the exact path you wanted to go on?
Yeah, entrepreneur, that word never resonated with me. Probably because I the people that I saw being entrepreneurs were all men in like
Mm.
the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just like that hustle, grind, like bro culture. And that didn't resonate with me. So I believe that's why that word didn't really resonate with me at first. Um, I've always thought of myself as a coach and a consultant, someone that advises other people to change, the course of their life, to bridge that gap between their intent and impact and get them somewhere else. And while entrepreneurship or solopreneurship is how I ultimately achieve that, um,
Mm-hmm.
I, that that word never really stuck with me. So when people ask like, how do you become an entrepreneur? Well, depends on what your goal is. Like, what business model are you going for? What is it you want to achieve? Who's your audience? So sometimes I'll have students from my alma mater, ask me, like, how did you get to where you are? I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, well, what do you mean by entrepreneur? Because it means very different things to very different people. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I've worked for large organizations, small marketing startups, medium-sized organizations, and they all look very different, especially when they have different ultimate business objectives. So asking that question first and foremost can really help them even know if I'm the right person to talk to.
Mm, that's a really great way to see it because, like everything in life, we may have different definitions of what it means and
Mhm.
different perspectives. And I, now that listening to you and hearing you, it makes me realize that I did like when I started to really understand the in-depth meaning of entrepreneur was when I was actually doing the jump into entrepreneurship. But all the time, all I saw was, oh, I'm just, for me, it was, I'm a business, I'm going to be a business owner, I'm going to have my own business. But the connection into entrepreneurship wasn't as direct for me.
Mhm.
So when you mentioned your story, it kind of like connected really easily with me. Did you always, so how was your experience in corporate? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Um, Well, I had a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors because I grew up with a mother who was very subordinate and was constantly trying to appease my father, and who was very aggressive and authoritarian. And as a result, I learned, the same mannerisms. I learned the same techniques that, oh, when I feel intimidated by a man, I should act subordinate instead of creating a business centered argument for my point, right? And so, and I never learned those skills. And my father was never good in business, even though he thought he was. He's been fired and let go so many times. He doesn't have a retirement fund, even though he's in his 70s, because he chose to solely always do um, contract work, and as a result he doesn't have a 401k or anything like that because he didn't want people, because he felt like everyone was trying to sabotage him in some ways. So I didn't learn like any of the business skills from him either, and so I had to learn a lot of that on my own. And um, because I didn't know it at first, I came across as very incompetent. And
Mm.
I still have to work on those things every day. Like, not apologizing for speaking my mind, not saying, oh, okay, I'll get off my soapbox. And these are the same things that I teach other women because I learned them the hard way. Like, these are things that I'm doing that are communicating that I'm not as competent as I really believe that I am. And I knew that I could achieve a lot of I could achieve greatness. I could help other women, other people improve their public speaking, improve their communication, help them get jobs that, were really fulfilling for them.
Mhm.
But I didn't have the nonverbal communication skills or verbal communication skills to communicate my authority and my ability to get there. So that's kind of how, and the reason why I got to where I am was because I learned the hard way all of these things and did lots of research. Like, okay, what communicates authority? Because people aren't seeing me as authoritative as I know that I can, communicate and come across. So that's ultimately kind of how I went that direction.
I love it because I think this is very inspiring for those of you who are listening to this, even if you're listening to the recording. I think, like, knowing that if you find yourself knowing that you're not in the right place, you still have the power within you to look for options. And I think, Lori, how you explained that you didn't just sit in status quo and you decided, okay, I'm just going to look for what I need to do to change things for me and find myself, I think that's really powerful. And I think the more people out there who may be struggling right now with where they are realize that it's okay to look for help. It's okay to search. If you're not happy, don't just stay there. Find out what are the things that motivate you and how you can close the gap so you can rise, right?
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah.
right word.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so you had mentioned to me, and I think this is also very powerful, that your path in corporate wasn't always an easy one. And as a result, you had three incidents where you were let go of of your job.
Mhm.
Can you share with the audience a little bit about this and how you overcame it?
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been fired. I was fired 3 times in corporate, all different roles, all different companies. The first one, I was an intern and unpaid intern, and I got great results. Got multiple contracts through, social media engagement, helped the company grow really, really fast. So the CEO met with me and said, "Hey, I want to offer you a job, right? Permanent job." And he said, "So I want you to read these books, and I'm gonna read these 2 books to see how we can, implement these principles from these books to help our company grow." I'm like, "Okay." And I didn't start until the following, like, over the weekend. It didn't start until like Monday. And so, I hadn't read the books yet because I'm like, I'm not going to get paid for the time until I start. So I, come into the office and he's already read them and he's like, "No, we don't need these." And I'm thinking, okay, but didn't you want my perspective on them? Like, you asked me to take the time to read them. Like, so, and before he even offered me the job, he chronically interrupted his employees when they were presenting. Like, they're supposed to be the ones public speaking, presenting all of this, and you just interrupt them over and over again. And I had known this person personally, um, and knew I could just tell. I was like, this person is not a good leader. And I already knew that, but I'm like, "Oh, but this pays more than the current job that I have. So I'll just take it." Even though I knew that I was not going to like working for him. And I
So
knew that
deep
he was
inside, you knew.
yeah, he was an awful leader. I knew for a fact that he was. Um, so I'm like asking questions and he can sense that I'm unhappy. And he's like, "You seem angry." I'm like, "No, not angry. I'm seeking clarification, right? Because you said one thing and now you're doing another." So then he comes back with the person from HR who's an intern because they don't have HR at his company.
Oh,
Because if
wow.
they did, then he would be fired, quite honestly. Um, so he's like, "I brought this person from HR here. We're going to let you go." And literally, I'd worked 2 hours. I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you know what pseudo emotion is?" I'm like, "Nope." At the time, I was like, "I don't think so. It might ring a bell." And he's like, "It means that I'm feeling something similar in this situation as I have to another person. You're reminding me of someone else who I fired. So we're not going to continue this relationship." I'm like, "Okay." Like, I should have just said no in the first place and told him directly why before I accepted the role. But I'm like, you know, this is some feedback that I've noted. Like, these are some things that I've noticed how you lead, and it's ineffective based on like all of these books that I've read on leadership. And I had read books on leadership to figure out like what a good boss looks like. And then he would have just been like, "Oh, clearly you're not a good fit," because he was not open to feedback. And I knew this from my boss who had shared this with his employees. And so, yeah, that was just one instance. Again, like that's some self-sabotaging behavior, right? I should have just said no the first time. And I knew that I needed to just accept blanket accept whatever it was that he wanted, because I knew that's the type of leader he was, and I didn't. And so I'm like, hey, he's going to let me go. So it was self-sabotaging behavior, but I kind of knew what I was doing at the same time.
And there was a learning for you, which I'm
yeah,
sure.
like I should have listened to my inner voice the first time. But I was taught for a long time to not listen to my inner voice and to just go and do what an authority figure said to do. And so the next time I was working for a small marketing agency, and they were doing some very sketchy things, essentially trying to reframe how our ads were performing on Facebook to try and prove that we were performing better than we really were. And so I would ask questions like, how do I put this? Like, so you want me to change things on the back end? Like, I know what he meant by that, but I like was trying to clarify, because I'm like, are you really asking me to reframe this? Because that's not true. Instead, I should have just said blanket, like, you're trying to frame this in a way that is untrue. And that's uncomfortable for me. I should have just said that. And, they probably would have let me go because they were unwilling to be honest with their clients. I didn't listen to my inner voice. Instead, I kept asking questions to make it sound like I didn't know what I was talking about. And because I didn't feel comfortable at speaking truth to authority at the time, because I was taught from a very young age to not do that, or I would be physically beat. And so instead, I acted stupid. And I've seen this from lots and lots of people that I've worked with. And sometimes they realize they're doing it and sometimes they don't. But it's really important for you to be able to make a business case for your argument. And I could have done that. I could have said, like, our clients are going to see through this. This person has a background in marketing and they're just trying to, delegate a lot of the marketing. So they're going to figure out that we're not telling the truth if I had just made a business case for it in the first place. So that was another example, got let go. And then the last one, I was working at a multi-level marketing agency as a W-2 employee, and just hated my job. I was literally just like a robot every day. And at this MLM, I don't know if it's this way at every MLM, but they like act really excited all the time. And it was just not authentic. And my supervisor was super introverted, and he did not buy into that type of energy, but expected everyone else to buy into the energy, and needed all of our business partners. That's what they termed the people who, brought on more people to sell the product. He expected them to do that. So, and I needed a lot of help because I hadn't been trained in everything that I needed to perform well in. I had to do coding, which I'd never done before. And in the interview, they made it sound like all I would have to do is do copy and pasting, but they needed me to do customized work as well, which they didn't inform me of beforehand. So I'd ask questions, sincerely, like trying to get clarification to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. And he'd just push me off to a different employee and say, ask this person instead. And so I just knew that it wasn't a good fit. And the reason I took the job in the first place was because my husband was not in a good place at his company. And so we kind of decided to switch roles and have him do the stay-at-home dad thing and me to take a full-time role, and I would be making more money than him. So I took the job and felt, with that inner voice still telling me like, this isn't the right fit. This isn't the right fit. And so once I got let go from that company, I was like, I am done trying to be someone I'm not. and trying to pretend to believe in other people's authority or leadership when they're being ineffective. And I'm like, I'm really good at writing. I'm going to go do, help people with their resumes and do career coaching. And then it expanded and I went into doing more communication coaching and public speaking coaching. And I had done some work with students with TED Talks and done some work helping them with their speeches for school presentations. And
Mhm.
so I already knew that I could do it. It was just a matter of owning my power and like being able to effectively sell myself. So I decided to just go into it and educate myself as much on sales as I could. I got a business coach. Both of us were a part of that program. Adrienne Weimer is amazing for any of you who are trying to grow your audience on LinkedIn. She's fantastic. Reach out to her if you want to expand your ability to influence people on LinkedIn and sell better. So used her and she magnificently enabled me to transform my business and get more clients a lot faster. And she has a background in sales. She understands sales psychology really well. And so just being able to have the knowledge and skills to be able to sell myself and knowing how to own my power and communicate that authority, that's what completely transformed my business.
So I gotta say, I second everything you said on Adrienne, and I also love that she also worked for LinkedIn, so she had kind of like a lot of behind the scene insights on her on LinkedIn. So that's very powerful. A couple of things you mentioned, and I think as you were sharing your story with the different jobs that you were let go, one thing that resonated with me was when you mentioned the topic of intuition. And before we go into the question, I just want to say hi, Kim. Kim is saying hello from Philadelphia. So we're just saying hi. There's another LinkedIn user. We just couldn't see the name. So we just say hello back. And we had a glitch in LinkedIn, but I think it's solved now. So people can now comment. If you can't comment, just refresh your page and you might be able to comment. So if that was you and you couldn't comment, just feel free to make any comments now. Okay, so going back into intuition. So I think for me specifically, through the years, I've always had that voice guiding me and I
Yeah.
didn't recognize it for a long period of time. And a lot of times I think I did the same you did. I ignored it. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. And of course, when I ignored it, it came back with a hammer. Boom, you ignore me. I'm here. These are the consequences.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
100%.
so what advice do you have to the people who are hearing you now on how to build their intuition, and especially if they're thinking to going into business, how important is building your intuition in order to be successful in business?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Um, when it comes to intuition, I think of what comes to mind is limiting beliefs and conditioning that we've had from childhood or from society or from relationships. And being able to, yeah, own your intuition and power and listen to it, what's really helpful is recognizing patterns. Like the examples that I had, like I knew early on, like there were the signs, like the signs were there, and I chose to ignore them for whatever reasons, financial, life circumstance, whatever it might be. Um, and so if you're having if you're uncertain about a certain direction that you should go, like I think my intuition's telling me this, but it might be telling me this. Like I'm not try to look at patterns in your behavior, try and look at consequences of your behavior before, and you'll start to recognize that like, oh, that thought that I had, that was me warning myself that that wasn't a good path, or that was my brain saying like, yes, that absolutely is the right direction to go. when it comes to, career, when it comes to solving a business problem. So if you can build that skill and recognize the consequences of your actions over time, then you'll be able to recognize what your intuition is and how it's speaking to you. For some people, it's like a physical feeling. For some people, it's a thought. For other people, it's like a thought that comes to mind that, like, oh, I didn't, like, why did that doesn't seem like me? Or it is really, or maybe like that is very much me, right? It might be different for it's different for different people, but being able to recognize those patterns will enable you to better follow your intuition.
Yeah, I've gotta say that for me, it it's like a voice inside my head, but it's not the ego voice. And what I normally do is I ask myself the question: Is this coming from fear? Is it fear based?
Ooh,
Right?
yeah, that's a good
Because if it's
question.
coming from fear, what I know that this is not my intuition calling. Now, could what my intuition be telling me be saving me from something? Yes, but if it's still not coming from fear, it might still not be coming from fear. It's like just that insight of information coming in telling me, this doesn't sound right.
Right. It might just
um
be insight, not necessarily something that like
mhm.
is coming from a place of anxiety or fear, like you said.
Yeah, and not coming from like you mentioned, limited beliefs and all of that, because I
Mhm.
think, yeah, that those limited beliefs can actually drag you in a different in a different direction, because that's what 95% of who we are is unconsciously. And if we are not aware of what our limited beliefs are, then we end up going on a path that it's not necessarily the path we deeply desire, but that's what we know, right?
Mhm.
So in your journey in entrepreneurship, um would do you recognize any moments where there were certain maybe fears or limited beliefs that you had to work on so you could actually embrace entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because of my childhood trauma, working with male liaisons when it comes to corporate training causes me a lot of
Mm.
anxiety. But being aware of that in the first place helps me to then put my calming techniques into place and try to almost like imagine them as a different person, like this is actually a woman, or also not assuming that they're thinking a certain way, which come from limiting beliefs.
Mm.
Um, Assuming that they are seeing me as credible, help you to then act credible. It's one of the keys that I teach as part of my coaching programs to help women build their confidence. Um, Communicating confidence enables them to believe that you're confident. And then when they treat you like you're confident, you act more confident. It's a self fulfilling prophecy, but it's a positive one. And so if you can reframe the situation in some way to help you to create that level of confidence, or channel your higher self, or channel that type of person who you want to be like. Maybe it's Sheryl Sandberg or Ellen DeGeneres, right? What kind of energy do you want to give off? If you
Oprah
can,
Winfrey.
right, watch their interviews, watch, their speeches, and start to mimic their mannerisms, mimic their confidence and their demeanor, all of those different traits, then people will start treating you like how you really want them to treat you, as confident, as competent, as capable. And that can completely transform your entire life. The number of opportunities that you'll get, the number of clients you'll get, just because people take cues on how confident they should feel in you directly from you. If you're slouched over, if you're talking all quiet, right? Those are all cues that you're subordinate, that you're not confident in yourself and your abilities. If you can change your nonverbal cues and your verbal cues to communicate that competence and confidence that you have underneath your insecurity, it can completely transform your life.
And this is not about, for those listening, this is not about fake it till you make it. That's
No,
not what we're talking about. Just in case somebody in the audience is wondering, oh, this is fake it till you make it. No, we're not
no,
talking about that. We're talking about you authentically embracing the person you really want to be and
mhm,
building your skills to really step into that role, not
exactly.
faking it, because faking it, you're telling yourself that you are not it, and in order for people to respect you, you have to fake it. That's completely different.
Yeah,
um
I'm a huge proponent. I have lots of posts about how fake it till you make it doesn't work. Like you're
it
literally telling yourself if you're doing that approach, no, I can't really do this. How are if you're telling yourself you can't really do it and you're
You will
trying to
never do
pretend
it.
you're
You
not,
will never do it.
right? You're not, it's going to be really hard to get there. And so you're just channeling who you actually want to be, who you actually want to, how, who your future self, how you want to treat your future self, how you want to act as your future self. So then you can manifest that into reality. So own your power, own your confidence, create a document where you just cheer yourself on, where you get where you see feedback from other people who have said how freaking amazing you are, how skilled you are. That is one of the things that I look back on regularly. I look at my testimonials on LinkedIn when I'm having a hard day, when I haven't gotten a client like in a couple weeks. Then, I look at those, be like, no, I am badass. I'm so good at what I do. I transform people's lives. I've done this again and again and again. I can keep doing it. And so, that's just one of the things that you can do. And a big one is surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who treat you like
Ooh,
the person that you want to be. If people are already treating you like the person you want to be, then they're already asking for your advice. They're already seeing, like, wow, you're so good at what you do. Oh my gosh, can you please teach me this? So if you can, get those people to surround yourself with, what podcasts are you listening to? Is the news helping or hindering you from, channeling the type of energy that you want? What other content are you consuming? Who are your friends on LinkedIn? Are you, just absorbing toxicity, or are these people cheering you on? Are you cheering them on? There is a huge opportunity on LinkedIn for entrepreneurs to support entrepreneurs. It's a huge
absolutely.
community. It really, really is.
Absolutely.
So reach out to other entrepreneurs, other people who you want to be like. Everyone is so much more supportive than you might think if you are new to this.
This is actually amazing feedback, because what we intake into our body, it's what dictates who we become, right? So if
Absolutely.
we're intaking feedback from people who is not serving us, then that's the direction that we're heading. I've got a confession to make. I don't think I have actively watched news for over probably 20 years. And I still find out when things in the world are happening that I need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Somehow the information still gets to me. But no, I don't. I stay away from things that are not serving me. If I don't have any control over what I'm doing, then I don't let it control me. And the easiest way for me is to stay away from it. I do want to say that I love what you said about surrounding yourself with the right people, because in entrepreneurship, you are not bind into a specific company. You are solo, or you are working for, you may have employees under your umbrella because you might be the leader, right? But you're the one steering the ship. And
Mhm.
because you're the one steering the ship, you have to make sure that you're constantly surrounding yourself with people who are going to build you up. And I think that was my biggest lesson in stepping into entrepreneurship, was that, oh my god, I don't have like that easy network that I used to have in my corporate job, where I
Mhm.
knew who to ask for help. I needed to build that network. And
Yeah.
it was scary at first, but I think it's really powerful, because you shape that network in a way that it's so serving you, and then you realize that you're bringing into your life people who are really aligned to your purpose, and it's really insanely awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Once you have those people cheering you on, like if you literally picture a room, but wherever you are, and there's a bunch of people around you who are cheering you on, helping you overcome whatever insecurities you're feeling right now, and telling you all the things that you need to hear, everything that you want to feel, and then think about the exact opposite, right? What is the energy that you're bringing into your life, bringing into yourself? How much more or less anxiety are you feeling? How much more or less insecurity are you feeling? That is exactly the outcome that you are achieving for yourself every single day based on all of those people who you are bringing into your life. Now, I understand there are certain people that we have to have in our lives at certain times, but
Absolutely.
we do have a choice with a lot of our time. What podcasts are you listening to? What content are you consuming? You can choose who you follow on social media. You can still be friends with someone on Facebook and not have their content be in your feed. They've changed that if you don't know that over the years. And
They
so
do.
you have more power over your time and over the people who are in your life than you might think. And it is okay to spend less time with people who don't serve you. Obviously, everything is not about us. We do have to serve other people, and we do have to, be friends with people. But if they're those ones who just always complain and complain and complain and complain, right? And you're just like, well, I want to be friends with them because it seems like they don't really have friends. It's like, next time when they start complaining, ask them, well, what are you doing about it?
I heard someone ask me this, say this question, say this to me the other day, and it was like, why didn't I think about this before? He said, I was sharing a specific experience, and like someone who's going on a specific path that I'm not necessarily in alignment, but they're very defensive. And this coach actually said, well, just ask them, Brenda, how is that working for you?
Mhm.
Because if you're so adamant, like if this is the only way to do things, just asking the question, how does that work? How is that working for you? It's gonna make them realize that, oh, okay, I'm not open to seeing things differently. However, this is not working for me. So
Uh-huh.
that's
They'll immediately recognize, like, oh yeah, that's not working. And then, like, maybe by asking that question, you'll end up manifesting them out of your life because they just want people to listen to their complaining, and you're not doing that. So, yeah, and you're serving them by asking them that question. You're not being it.
absolutely.
You're not lacking empathy. You're not, lacking. Um, you're not being their friend. You're expecting them to take action, and we have, like I said, we have more power over our lives than we think, and they probably do too. So it is okay to let go of those relationships. You don't need to feel guilty about it.
So you have shared today so many amazing nuggets, like from intuition all the way to going through difficult moments in your job and still coming across and learning and stepping into your power and how you shaped your business. If you were to give an advice to the people who are listening to you, like maybe one thing to keep them motivated and going towards what they want, what would that advice be?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I'd say just know that what you're experiencing, all of the other entrepreneurs are experiencing too. Naturally, like we have to show our accomplishments and on LinkedIn. So we have to show that, like, yes, we're achieving these things for clients. Know that we get plenty of no's too. That every discovery call doesn't always end with a yes, right? Um, I mean, money goes up and down, until you have a lot of stability in your business. And even then, even big corporations, it goes up and down.
Absolutely.
And, um, the rejection that consistently comes if, you're trying to get clients, everyone goes through it. If you are really struggling and you're like, I just feel like I have to quit, everyone else is winning and I'm not. joining a coaching program just for the benefit of hearing other people struggling with the same thing is so motivating. And it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I just say motivating. It's just helps you to know that you're not alone, that other
It's
people have the
inclusive.
same exact struggles.
It's inclusive for me. I remember stepping into Adrian's group coaching, and I was like, I'm not alone.
I
And then there
know,
were moments where I'm like, I know the answer. I
right?
can help them. But there were other times where it was like, oh, they know the answer. I have no clue. They can help me.
Yeah, it's just a support network. And I mean, naturally, you should be getting on the coaching program for the benefits of the results that they're promising. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was one of the top benefits. And that's one of the reasons why I
Absolutely.
launched my group program earlier this year was because so many women were asking for a support network whenever I talked to them. And I was just doing one-on-one coaching then. So I decided to launch my group program and just it's really helped the women in the program just know that I'm not alone. Okay, other people are going through the same thing.
I don't have a group coaching program, and that's probably 2024. But anyway, um, there's Kim Grief, and I may have pronounced your last name wrong. Let me just say Kim. It's saying yes, absolutely, team effort. We completely agree with you, Kim. Thank you
Mhm.
for sharing.
100%.
So 100% yes. Now, how can people connect with you? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, send me a connection request on LinkedIn, follow me, and I send tips about job searching, about building your confidence as a woman, about about public speaking, helping you, communicate how you really want to be perceived. So follow me, DM me. I am offering free career coaching sessions for the rest of the month of November. So if that's something that you are interested in and you want to build your confidence as an entrepreneur, feel free to put the keyword career in the chat or the comments, and I will reach out to you for that free career strategy call.
That's awesome. So I'm really grateful I got the opportunity. I'm blessed to have shared the stage with you today. Um, uh, ev- I would encourage everybody to just follow Lori if you haven't done so. I love her post. I think she's very inspirational. So you will be inspired and to take action. So once again, follow her. If you're looking to transition out of corporate and you're looking for a session just to evaluate if that's the path you want to go, send me a message. We can connect. Either way, uh, at the end of the day, what I encourage you to do is follow your heart. You know, deep down inside what you really desire, and give yourself the opportunity to live your dream. So, I think we have another comment from Kim coming up. I joined a little late, was in another room, would love to hear more. Kim, the recording will be posted, so you can actually look at the recording in the meantime. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach either to Lori or to myself, and we will be more than happy to support you. Once again, Lori works with people looking for the right career. I actually work with people on their exit strategy, so it's two different areas. Although they complement each other, but it's slightly different. And we're here to support you either way. We had Ronnie connect and also send us a heart. So thank you so much. So with that said, I think any last final words, Lori, you want to share with the audience?
Own your power, it'll get you far.
Absolutely. That's a good one. Psh.
Thanks so much for having me, Brenda Lise. It was a pleasure.
Yes,
I always love talking with you.
yes. And everybody, thank you. And we'll see you in 2 weeks with our next interview. And have a great and amazing and inspiring week.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.